To create a session in full mode, you need to disable the fast creation mode and use the Ctrl+N button or hotkey. As in a fast mode, the created session will receive the parameters specified by the selected provider, including a name. If necessary, you can make manual changes before creating it. You can change, edit, or add the provider directly in the session creation window. The session color is set based on the provider settings. If necessary, you can change it by clicking on the color selection icon. If necessary, add new tags, or click on tags already installed from the provider in order to cancel their use in the created session. You can add a description for the session being created using the appropriate field. The connection is established by default based on the provider settings. You can change it by selecting the connection type from the drop-down list using manual input, or install the required proxy from the previously downloaded ones by clicking on the Proxy Manager icon. Perform a manual proxy check to set geolocation, language, and time zone. If you need to set these parameters manually, disable automatic installation and click on the required parameters. You can manually set coordinates, select languages, or set the desired time zone. The information line under the geodata block shows the data of the incoming and outgoing IP addresses of the established connection. Similar to the settings in the provider, you can disable WebRTC or configure how it works. Fake, a synthetic leak of an IP address based on an IP proxy. Direct, will show the real IP. Not available will demonstrate the enabled WebRTC function without the ability to set the IP address. To manually edit DNS, you must disable auto selection. The line for using a proxy with rotation allows you to set a link to change the IP address upon request. This session uses a provider with a previously installed proxy and a link to change the IP, so it is already filled in and no additional actions are required. To quickly load cookies into the created session, you can use paste into the import field, drag the file to the designated location, or use file selection by clicking a button to browse the file system. After a successful download, you will see the number of imported cookies next to the switch responsible for the type of synchronization. If you want to change the settings for synchronizing data, as well as saving history and passwords in a session, use the switches responsible for the storage method. Disabled cookies and local storage synchronization switches will allow you to store data locally without uploading to the server. Disabled switches for storing history and passwords will disable their saving in the session, otherwise they will be synchronized automatically. To change the settings for start pages, bookmarks and extensions set from the provider, open the required menu and make changes. Please note that after creating a session, editing bookmarks and installed extensions will only be possible from the session window. It will not be possible to change them from the program control window. Configuration settings allow you to select the required type of operating system, browser version. If you set the last parameter, the latest version will always be used. Automatic updates will be performed in already created sessions. You can also set the resolution, video card, amount of RAM and number of processor cores. Under the configuration settings block, you can see summary data of the user agent used. Please note that starting from version 101 Chrome uses zeros in the user agent regardless of subversions, and you can see more precise information about the subversion on the right. If you need to fine-tune the subversion of the browser you are using, proceed to editing by clicking on the edit icon. To manage fingerprints, use the appropriate switches responsible for replacing Canvas, WebGL, ClientRects, and Audio. If you want to use the program in emulation mode of portable browsers with real fingerprints, set the hybrid mode. Click the Reset button if you want to restore all session parameters to those set from the default provider. After finishing editing, use the Create Session button to save it, or the Create and Run button to get started instantly.